Welcome everybody to the Esports Cast. So this is our first episode where we'll be discussing our first topic, which is women and their role in esports. We are joined both here by our two beautiful guests. One, Charlotte, who's a freelance photographer in esports,
Hey.
and Amy, who's like a freelance player manager, and one of the clients at the moment is XL Esports. So today I've got a couple of questions that I because at the same time that it's more of a discussion, I wanted to learn more about the topic myself, because I still think this is something I lack in. And then we have two questions on Twitter to end off the show. So hopefully you enjoy it, hopefully you learn something, and we'll get started with the first question. So it's more of like to intro yourself. So it's more like, where do you personally fit within esports and how did you get involved? So I'm sure everyone has their own story. Amy, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I can start. So hello, I'm Amy, also known as Afron, and I'm a freelance player manager, and I'm also the XL Ladies team manager for League of Legends. And I kind of that's kind of where I said fit in sense, that's kind of like my area. Yeah. But how did I get involved? Basically, I had a really good friend, still have a really good friend called Ryan. He's the manager of the main team for XL. And we were at a LAN one time, and I was like, we were kind of just chilling, and I met the team, and I was like, what is this? Because esports was like nothing. I had no idea what esports was. I just like to play video games.
Yeah.
I met the team. I loved them. They were amazing. That iteration of XL's roster was probably one of my favorites. But from then, I was like, I want to kind of learn what this is. Mm-hmm. So I shadowed Ryan, who is insane at his job. So I had that benefit. Really of kind of having somebody who's been in esports for a while being like a mentor and a guide to me. And from there, I shadowed what he did. I went to events. I networked. I met loads of people, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. And here I am.
So you were already interested in gaming, because to attend a LAN event, obviously you have to be pretty keen
on
it. What I mean? You have to be pretty.
I had been to 3 LANs before, so I was I'm not one of these born a gamer. I was born a normie, and then 5 years ago I entered the gaming world, and I was eyes open, oh wow, hello. But yeah, so
okay, decent. Charlotte, what about you? So photography is a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. So I'm a freelance photographer. Only recently got into it 10 months ago. But my story is kind of similar. So it was a little bit different. I've been gaming since I was about 4, which is crazy. I know, little Charlotte game. Yeah. I went to my first LAN when I was 12.
Oh god, veteran over here.
I know. I'm only 18 though, so.
Oh right, okay, I got you.
So I went when I was 12,
baby.
And I went into the LAN, and I basically saw, similar to what happened with Amy, I saw the esports side of it, and I knew a few people that were in esports, and I was I saw that it was a growing industry, and it interested me, because I was back then it was mind blowing that people could be paid to work in gaming anyway. Yeah. So I was I need to get into this. And yeah, so I first started out as a graphic designer. I was a graphic designer for 3 years. And then I did social media management, and now I'm in photography somehow.
So how did you get into photography? Was it more or less just started as a hobby like most things, and then...
So, not really. My dad was a photographer, but he didn't really teach me much. So I knew the basics, but not in detail.
Yeah.
And then Blanks, who runs UK CSGO, one Epic LAN, about 3 Epic LANs ago, I think, was oh, I need some photos doing. I can lend my camera. Does anyone know how to take photos? And I was like,
hello.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And then I did it, and he was impressed. And he was like, you need to get a camera, because I can see you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And loads of people said that to me. So I went out and bought a camera, and here we are now.
Damn, that's pretty crazy, Professor. So someone just passing you a camera and going, take some photos, and then boom.
Having a natural talent for it as well.
Starts off your career. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's weird how people get into esports, because it's obviously there is a difference, but it's slowly being closed. But
it's so green and new.
Yeah,
it's not really a set way.
People forget that it is literally a baby. You know what I mean? When it comes to comparing to sports or any other business market, it is so small compared to
no
anything
direct
else.
route.
Yeah, and I don't think even esports veterans, they still don't really fully understand what they're involved with. You know what I mean? Because it is still, they're growing with it. But it is always interesting to get to see how people get involved. So the second question, is there any like stigmas attached to being a woman in esports, whether that be in your social life or esports itself? So obviously when you're talking to your friends, family, what do they think about it? Because I'm sure at first they're probably like, you know, I'm sure, you know how parents are, they're worried about your career.
Parents were not a fan. They
Really?
were just like, yeah. So I started off like, so the way I kind of like, before like esports, I just kind of like low-key streamed a little bit, played some video games, and I was like fully like, you cannot talk to me while I'm streaming, parents. Like, do you understand? This is like, you know, so I want to make something out of this. And I was like starry-eyed child who was like, I want to do this. And they were just like, this is terrible. You don't stop.
God.
So it got to a point, I put like stuff on my door, like, I am streaming now, like,
live broadcast
in
room, do not
hindsight was
enter.
like, it was really bad. Like, it was really rude. And I kind of feel bad. But they had like, so they kind of like, had a bad viewing of the start because I was like the typical like bratty kind of like, don't talk to me while I'm streaming or playing video games, mom. But like when they saw, like when I actually started like doing it properly and I started like, you know, doing it methodically, like planning out content, planning out everything, they were like, oh wow, it's, you know, she's doing this like legit. And like I did it alongside a part-time job, like during like off time. And then when I was like earning money from it, they were like, oh, okay. They were still a bit like, but they were like warming to the idea.
Yeah.
And then when I like finally started getting work and paid work, now they're just like, they're like super proud and they're like, I love what you're doing. We love what you're doing. I hope you love what you're doing. So like there was definitely that kind of like gaming isn't a thing.
Do you think that's just a worry though, or do you think that's like media itself portraying gaming and esports as being like a negative?
They have no idea about gaming industry. A lot of like people in like kind of like not in the esports bubble have no idea what esports is.
Yeah.
So the only kind of thing they see is like, oh, this person like played video games for like 24 hours and only wore a diaper. Or there's very little coverage in like mainstream media, especially PC like gaming, like because people are like, oh, you play it on the computer. I thought, why don't you not play on Xbox? And it's like, it's there, but it's not as prominent. But that's, I mean, like, it's so sheltered and there's like zero coverage, so stigmas are like gonna be there from a long time ago.
Yeah. So what about you, Charlotte? 'Cause I can imagine, hopefully I'm not wrong, but I can imagine it's a bit easy to explain because it's like taking photos, you know what I mean? It's surely they understand.
So in the beginning, it really wasn't easy to explain. What you've got to remember is I got into esports whilst I was still in school. So
so priorities,
So I remember all the guys in school were like, oh, you're a girl who games, is that not weird? And all of this stuff. That everyone thought it was really, really strange when I was younger. But then as I got to like year 11, everyone was like, oh, that's really cool. Do you want to play games later and stuff like this?
Maturing,
Parents-wise, my dad is the person who got me into gaming and going to LANs. So
he was
he
fully
understands
supportive of
esports.
it.
You lucky, you're so lucky.
He understands esports, so now I'm into photography as well. He's really, really supportive of it.
Oh.
He was a bit unsure at first because
Yeah, I can imagine.
not a lot of people know, but I've taken the last 2 years to like find my place in esports. Doing unpaid work half the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, getting a portfolio has been the hardest thing, but you got to do what you got to do.
Unpaid work. People, that's one of the things that I like advocate is like people don't realize to get into esports you have to volunteer.
Oh yeah, people
Like,
don't get that.
exactly.
but-
Like I'm still doing volunteer work for Excel. Like it's not paid, but like you have to take these sacrifices in a small industry that can't afford that kind of like privilege. Like we're the kind of people that are like paving the way. Like we're willing to do that because it's an industry we love, you know?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So that's where like my mum's point of view on it's a bit shaky. So she used the game, which is crazy, but she doesn't understand the esports side of it. So she sees when the Face It Major was on, and I was like, I'm going to Wembley to shoot this really big event, which has this insane prize pool. She was like, people get paid that much.
Yeah, like wow.
To play games.
that's not bad. Yeah.
She was very confused, but she was proud. She's proud of the photography, but she just wishes like she doesn't understand.
I guess that's the biggest thing. Yeah. I think it's easy. It's so easy to explain when esports is involved with the media because you can say like, the Dota International was 24 million. They understand that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
like, they get that.
That's my go-to when people are like, oh, so gaming, and I'm like, have you ever heard of Dota?
Yeah, they've given out like 100 plus million. That right, okay, that's a lot of money. I understand that. I get that.
It's also like how the Premier League have now picked up FIFA.
Yeah, that was That is
That's
huge.
massive.
That's
Like,
like a topic for another day. Like that, I could talk about that for hours because that is literally the Premier League is like the biggest sporting league in the world, isn't it? Something like that. Yeah. So that
Definitely.
getting involved in esports, that is like I can't even put it into words. That's
That's
crazy.
why I say it's so green. Like we thought we were doing well now, and then we just look at Premier League coming in, and we're like, okay,
What's the next step?
buckle up, we're going for a ride.
Yeah, it's a bit
Esports
off
crazy.
tangent, but do you think like games that are relatable to actual sports like F1, FIFA, do you think that makes it easier for people to enter esports? Like people understand that it's just a game version, you know what I mean? It's just
100%.
Yeah, I just think,
Because you have all, say, like, you have all the kids that are currently in, like, high school, and, like, the kids from my age when we were in, like, high school that only played, like, FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, whenever I talk to, like, people from school and I talk about video games, like, oh, did you do FIFA? And it's just that base level, entry level, like, esport that everybody has knowledge of.
Yeah.
Even if you are not a gamer, you like most like adults know what football is and
of
can
course.
follow football. So if you put it on an electronic scale, it's so blanket accessible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, so I remember in school it's the same for me. So it's either do you play FIFA or do you play Call of Duty? And they were the two. It's Call of Duty
Yeah.
and FIFA, 100%. Because
yeah, it's weird
people
because
have
it's
grown
like
with them.
outside esports, that's what they notice, but inside, it's nothing like that. FIFA and Call of Duty are far from the biggest titles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Internally, it's like League of Legends, CS:GO, Dota, and you mention them outside, and they're like, "What? Like they don't understand."
No.
Maybe CS. I think CS is maybe a bit more heard of, but
It's kind of getting out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
People are comparing it to COD, but it's nothing like it.
yeah,
nothing
it's
like
weird.
FIFA. Like that's what referring to your question. Like I definitely think that having the Premier League pick up like an esport will like make it so much more consumer like accessible.
Oh, yeah.
Like because it's just something that everybody's used to and can
Yeah.
just look at and go, oh wow, okay, we can follow this just like we follow normal football
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
easier
definitely.
for investors as well because they see something like familiar there, so they're like, okay, this is more
Oh, 100%.
trustworthy, rather than like maybe Dota or League that they've never
Oh yeah, definitely.
never heard of.
If you can say, Premier League are involved with this, they're going to be keen. You know what I mean? Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that. So third question, moving on. Can you see a bright future for competitive female players? Is there enough support for the scene overall? So this is something like I've seen bits and parts of. I don't know if you heard of the Female Pro League. I believe that's still going on in Call of Duty. I'm not too sure of the titles. But what do you think, guys, personally? Like, what do you think? Is there enough support at the moment? Should there be enough support, or?
There definitely should be enough support. Whether there is or not is another question. But to answer the first part, can you see a bright future for competitive female players? Yes, 100%. I can see a bright future for anybody who wants to pursue something that they're passionate about. It doesn't matter what that's in, but like specifying down to female players. Definitely more recently, there are so many like supporting events.
Yeah.
There are so many females entering the scene now. There's just like an openness that is like supporting like myself, supporting like my team. Like
Yeah.
I'm here to support my team now, which probably wouldn't have been here beforehand. Like I'm here to like make sure everything's okay, deal with logistics. Like I'm literally supporting these like 5 girls to kind of be the best versions of themselves, like, and in a competitive environment.
Yeah.
And having like other people like me and like other managers around are insane. When we went to the event in Portugal, I met 2 amazing like women who were both like amazing managers. There was one from Zombie Unicorns and one from Dignitas.
Yeah.
Honestly, like having these women in the scene, these strong women who like they do their job so well, like that is like an amazing like area to like highlight when it comes to like competitive players, having that like backbone, having that stone to rely on. I think
Yeah.
that's like a big part.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, so do you think, like, of course the end goal really is we don't just want to keep male and female split. The end goal is to bring them together, you know what I mean? Do you think that
This is a
I
like,
think it's a bit too soon to call because, like, we don't really know right
so
now?
when I had the pleasure of talking with a girl called Cordelia at the Women in Games panel, we discussed about this, and it was like having the separate events, so having the female events separate to like just general events, and like is that good and is that not good? And I think that definitely has like points for and against. Points for would be obviously it creates a safe space for women. It gives that accessible route. It gives them like fair competition because one, to quote what she said, was there's not like competitive females in the lowest levels, in the lowest form of competition.
Yeah.
So to have females at the highest end of competition, you've got to have that like feed through. Like you see like national tiers like go into like LCS for like League of Legends. Like we don't even have that kind of structure for the female scene yet. It's very sporadic tournaments that appear every now and again. So I feel like just implementing kind of like a system which we can like rise through.
So kind of like a path to pro, is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a path to pro. I think that would be like a nice like kind of just a way in, but way to say is like there isn't like that level of skill at lower levels, so it can't be at higher levels, for sure.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So do you think to kind of like how can we get more women involved in esports, or is that something we should be trying to do? Because it's kind of mixed there. I kind of look from one point, of course there should be a route to get people involved, but at the same time, do you need to force them if they're not involved? If they're not interested, then you know what I mean.
This
it's
is
kind of like that, like.
Yeah.
Me and Charlotte discussed this before at a different event, saying about you don't need to force. Like people say, well, we need more women in esports. We need more women in esports. We can't force women who don't want esports to have esports. And I think that's the biggest thing. People are like, oh, there's a lack of women. There's a lack of women. Like, yeah, but that may be because it's just not of interest. Like, as I said, I was never interested in games. Like, I'd play like maybe Spyro and Rayman on my PS2 with like my parents or something. But like, I was never this person who's like, yeah, give me all these games. I was like, I'm happy on like Neopets, like that kind of stuff. And it was like very late that I actually realized, yo, I like games. But like if someone was like, yo, you can get into games and esports, like when I was back in high school, I'd have been like, yeah, no thanks, I'm just gonna go hang out with my mates kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like you gotta like open it up. It has to be like normalized, I think, for girls to be into games at a younger age, because I was never it wasn't given the opportunity, but it was never like presented. It was never like a path I could go down. It was just what never existed.
Yeah. The
quotes
on
I think also a comfort thing. Like, so also like I remember when I was younger, there was close to no girls in esports, and it was kind of an uncomfortable thing. Like, it kind of is still now. So say if me and Amy were to walk into an event, it's sometimes like we're the only girls there, and it's crazy, and it sucks, because I think more girls should be interested, but as we were saying, you can't force something that people aren't interested in. It's like me, for example, passing Amy a camera, like just going, here's a camera, you might not like photography, but do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't force it, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to become more of a comfortable thing when more girls are into it, but whether those girls come or not, like, it's got to be more normalized for more people to want to get involved.
I think it must be an awareness issue then, surely, because if they know about computer games, if they know about console games, then they maybe be interested, they may not, you know what I mean? That kind of split decision. To quote some stats actually from ESL London, it's surprised me, to be honest. Of course, console is majority male, but mobile gaming and mobile esports and mobile games and stuff like that is majority. I think it was 70% female, which surprised me. Like, I didn't know about that stat. So, you know, games like, what's that? What is it? Candy Crush, is it? I can't stand it. I can, but I really can't. But apparently stuff like that. That's the opportunity. I think mobile esports is definitely something that I do see a future for, but at the same time I don't. At one point, it's it's like I can't see it.
I personally am not a massive fan of mobile esports, but that's because I spent a lot of money on my setup, so I don't want to be like, hey, I got my setup, but damn, this mobile game, this really...
it's weird.
Nah, I'm happy with this platform. I'm happy with my platform.
Yeah, because it's like, I'd prefer playing a console. I prefer like having like a full setup and stuff like that. But at the same time, I totally agree with the point that anybody can play mobile esports, you know what I mean? It's accessible to everybody, literally. Anybody can do it.
This and the Premier League is given that kind of normality to games and esports that we never really had, because say if there's competitive Candy Crush, right, and the top players, and it's advertised on the Candy Crush game or whatever the majority game is played, like, are advertising other games. So, like, hey, we're advertising Fortnite on the phone on a game that is played like Candy Crush, then, hey, more girls will be like, if that is a majority played, oh, we'll try this one out and play the game on the phone. And they're like, oh, wow, this is like the games that we have played before. Where else can I play it? If they really like it, they up the ante. They invest. They put the money in.
Yeah.
And then you have that kind of progression, which I think is, like, as you said, the accessible route that we could be looking for.
Yeah, the biggest issue then I think is just awareness, advertising. It's just integrating the game to the esports side and how to do that and how to turn people over.
Yeah.
So moving on from that one, it's quite an interesting one, to be fair. But what was the hardest thing about yourself getting into esports? Because obviously being a male dominant market, is there any, like, I don't know how to kind of word it, is there any...
For me personally, I don't think the hardest thing about getting into esports was that it's majority men.
Yeah.
Because I kind of grew up,
definitely.
and after, like, being in high school with, like, my female group of friends, and after, like, kind of, like, coming out and being like, I like anime and games, they kind of, like, low-key shunned me. Like, a couple of them were kind of like, that's really weird, not a fan of that. But I had some guy friends who, like, were into that, and we were just like, and that was like a comfort zone for me. So I felt comfortable more around the guys because we had something in common.
Yeah.
So when coming into esports, or coming into games in general, a lot of my friends were guys, and it was comforting.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, like, worried about females because I'd had that negative reaction beforehand.
I got you. Yeah.
So for me, it was comforting knowing that all these guys had, like, a similar, like, thing of, like, we all like playing games for 9 hours a day. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think that was the hardest thing. I think the hardest thing was finding what I wanted to do, finding the right people to talk to, finding that foot in the door. And, like, the people who gave me those opportunities were all guys.
Yeah.
Like, that might be because, there's more guys in general, but I'm not out here to, like, shun guys in esports for, like, being there. Like, I can't be like, we need to cut down the amount of men, because, like, if anything, they've, like, massively catapulted me into, like, where I am now, and I'm always going to be forever grateful for those people who have. So I don't think it's men that are, like, a barrier, especially, well, personally for me, it was more comforting to have somebody who had a similar kind of, like, mindset than their gender.
Yeah, I never really looked at it like that.
Yeah, it's the exact same for me. All of my friends, well, pretty much all of my friends in gaming when I was younger as well were guys.
Yeah.
Like, guys have catapulted me as well. They've helped me a lot. I've never had an issue with it, really. I don't really think I've ever found trouble with it. But I'd agree, like, the hardest part is finding the foot in the door and where you fit in within esports. Because there are so many people doing so many different things, it's quite intimidating at first.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because you know what I mean. You don't want to push anyone out their way. You don't want to annoy anyone by trying to get in there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because people see certain areas of esports as already sorted, and that there's no room for anyone else. But it's finding the foot in the door into those areas and finding what you're most comfortable with and what you want to do.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it's the hardest part.
Yeah, I think that goes with everything, to be fair, because even I didn't know what I wanted to do until, like, 1 year ago, and now I've got a job in it. I think it's like a whole thing across the board. But do you think with esports, like, people new to it, obviously that don't fully understand it, do you think they don't understand the market, like the things you can go to? Maybe they just think, okay, you can play games professionally, that's it. Or you can
100%.
cast games, because they've seen that happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know behind the scenes, they don't know.
100%.
Like, it's weird, because it's, from my perspective,
I
it's
had
like...
no idea what a player manager was
Yeah.
until I went to my
it,
first event, and I was like, because I had no idea that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's a player manager? Well, a player manager is somebody that is below the product manager, deals with a lot of on-the-day kind of things, like logistics, like making sure players are okay, and trying to explain that to somebody is kind of odd, because people are like, wait, what? Like, so what do you actually do? And it's like, I look after the players. I'm a mediator of information. I'm kind of there for the comfort. I'm kind of there to make things run a bit smoother than they would if I wasn't here. So, like, for sure, like, I had no idea that was a thing. That I didn't get into esports and go, that's
I want to be
where
a player
I wanna
manager.
be.
I want to
Yeah, but there's like there's social media managing that I've
There's loads,
done.
yeah.
There's press room managing. There's so many different aspects to running any aspect of esport that a lot of people have no idea exist. Like,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
Like, I've done so many different roles as well. You have
Yeah.
to explore. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
There's so many, like, do you know when you see the esports award ceremonies, like the unsung heroes and stuff?
Yeah.
Production get overlooked, admins get
Oh, you
overlooked.
totally forget about that. Yeah.
People forget about these
you don't
things.
you don't look at that and go. You don't look at a stream and go, "Oh wow, look at the guys in production," because you don't.
Yeah.
It's not there. But without them, like, I don't know. Like, the
Observers.
production is like so massively important and so underrated. It's so hard to pull off a seamless show. When you see what goes into it, you can fully appreciate a
Oh,
show
100%,
like like so much.
They work so hard and so many hours a day, just non-stop concentration. It's amazing.
They're good people. They're good
They're
people.
amazing.
Yeah, but at the same, don't you think that's kind of like what they're aiming for? They don't want you to know they're there. If you notice them, you probably think, oh, okay, that's all staged. But obviously, if it's done so well and you forget they're there, they're probably doing a decent job. You know what I mean? You think?
Yeah, but it's just like highlighting like jobs that
Yeah,
you
of
don't
course.
really see. Like they're not in.
Yeah.
Because obviously, as Charlotte said, like the jobs that you see are the hosts, the casters, the
Yeah,
players.
the front faces. Yeah.
Yeah, the front faces. You probably like notice like the camera guys and the shots and the photographers. There's so many roles that you don't know exist. Like you'll never see like me. You'll never see the community managers. Like you'll never see
Yeah.
the product managers.
Social media.
You'll never.
managers.
Yeah, you'll never see those guys because it's not for the front face. So
Yeah.
people don't have that kind of exposure of those jobs.
100%.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, 'cause it's interesting because obviously, if people there's more and more avenues coming up and popping up. People help to get in esports and stuff like that. And I think one of them is it the British Esports Association. They're doing a really good job because
They're
they're a
amazing.
charitable company. They're helping. They're reaching out to parents and stuff like that. I think personally that's the biggest issue. Parents. Like, if parents understand it, they're gonna throw their kids at it. You know what I mean? They're gonna want them to get in. They want to get into it. But other than schools and parents, do you see anything else? Any barriers stopping people from entering esports?
Media.
Yeah.
Just. I think the biggest one is just media coverage.
Fortnite's gonna kill your kids, and it's like, come on. Like.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that, like false information, like a lack of like proper understanding.
Yeah.
But then, like, it's very hard to get that kind of clear cut kind of thing in an industry that is so kind of all over the place. It's not based on. It's not just League of Legends. It's not just CS:GO.
Yeah.
It is a plethora of games that you have to like get across to parents as being like an actual thing, like because you don't just blanket sports under football. You've got rugby, cricket, you've got like the Olympics that holds like all these games, and like trying to like have everybody understand all these different kind of games. Even we get new games coming up. Fortnite blew up a couple months ago. That game wasn't even heard of. That game wasn't even out. Battle Royales just came in and swept everything over from the MOBA love, like, so it's a constant change, and like if we struggle to kind of keep up with that and see how that's going, and we're running to keep up with the next big thing. So people who are sat at home watching Coronation Street, they don't want to be like chasing like we want to chase because they don't have the same passion that we do. But like we need to find a way to convey like these new titles coming out and these new opportunities that are always like coming up for like their children to like definitely get into.
Like we're always on our feet. We're always on our feet, keeping up with everything. I think also we've had like the unfortunate like things happen as the media have interviewed people in esports like that work behind the scenes and stuff, and they've twisted their words.
Yeah, they will always will.
That's really bad. I mean, the media have always, because it's such a non-understood thing. Yeah, like the media are always going to be hostile towards it. It's like any addiction; they see it as an addiction now.
Yeah,
it's like. Oh, voice break. It's like they see it as any other addiction. So someone sits on a PC for 12 hours, that's an addiction. But people sit and watch Netflix for 12 hours, or people sit and watch
it's
TV
like
for 12
anything in
hours.
large
That's
amounts
all.
is going to be bad for you. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The average person doesn't sit and play Fortnite for 12 hours, you know, and the media doesn't understand
Exactly.
that. But
Exactly.
like
For sure.
like you said, I totally agree. It's such an people are so like they don't understand it yet that they're happy to take what the media say. You know what I mean? They're happy to take it and take it on board and soak that up and think, okay, that's what esports is. But realistically, it's not. It's just a whole false interpretation of it.
I think like instead of slating it as well, they should, if they're that concerned about the health issues with it and stuff, they should raise awareness for what you can do to prevent these things instead of slating it as a whole.
Instead of just saying it's bad,
really
like
yeah,
definitely. Okay, cool. To end off then, before we go to the Twitter questions, this is kind of like your end off little quote. If you had one piece of advice for any woman in esports at the moment, what would you say? What would you give to them?
My thing would be just do what you want to do. Like, the way I did what I did was just finding what I wanted and just going for it. Like, don't put barriers in your way. Like, take the barrier, like, look at them and going, how do I get over this? Yeah. Like, don't see them as barriers. Just go for what you want to do and take everything head on and just really, like, be headstrong about it. 100%.
100%, yeah. Like, find what you want to do and don't feel intimidated as well, because I think that's a really big thing. People feel intimidated to get into it and stuff. I think, like, find what you want to do. As Amy said, find a barrier and find a way to get over it. Networking is a great thing as well. So if you can make friends with people, they can help you and you can help each other, and you know what I mean? That's why esports is great. It's like a really big family. Everyone helps each other most of the time. There's very rarely hostility there. So don't feel intimidated and just try and do what you want to do.
And
if you know the area, just that's the big thing. Know like who to talk to.
Yeah.
And like if you're like just genuine about it, like you're gonna be fine.
You're gonna breeze through it, yeah. So we've only got 2 questions via Twitter, and I think they're probably pretty interesting. It deals more of like the negative side of things, but again, it's still quite an interesting question. So the first one is, what's the hardest thing to deal with it being a girl in the community? So is there any hardships that you deal with on a day-to-day basis or anything like that? Because of course, the biggest thing everybody is aware about is the abuse some girls get in esports, and I think it's most prominent on Twitch, especially on like live streams. And I don't want to mention the case, but at the PC Gamer, the Games Awards, that was taken way out of. That was crazy. That was awful. But is there anything you deal with in your roles on a day-to-day basis?
Not in esports per se, but I think just in general gaming, streaming, that kind of thing. Just like the blanket, like esports is so good for it. Like it's like very, very limited. But it's usually on Twitch chats. You'll get like the spams of like the faceless like keyboard warriors who like to put their 2 cents in. But like I don't know. Personally, my parents were like kind of grow up with like thick skin, so they were like. Water, like things roll off my back really easily. So coming into this, like I don't take anything to heart, but you get like the comments, you get like if you're in voice comms, you get the whole like, oh my god, girl. But you can either just choose to ignore it, you can play to it. Like sometimes I get bored and I just go with it, and whatnot, because like it happens so often. But I've stopped being. I mean, I don't think I was ever really affected by it. Trolls come into your Twitch chat, you just troll them back. Like you don't have to. You can ignore it, and then they eventually go. You can control them back, and it's just mild amusement for yourself. But like I don't know. I don't get offended easily. I'm very like laid back. So that's just me. But other people like to go head on and tackle like the issue because it shouldn't be there. But for me, I'm just kind of like really chill. Like I'm calm.
Yeah. So I kind of have learnt to get a thick skin because at first it actually did affect me. So I used to go to LANs and things would get shouted. Because as I said back maybe like 2013, 2014, close to no girls in the LAN hall. It was all male. So there was stuff shouted. You get the stuff on Twitter as well, the weird comments. Like a lot of people make up rumors as well because they think you're a girl. A lot of rumors and negativity gets surrounded. Like people think it's weird that most of our friends are guys, so they try and create rumors out of it and stuff like that, which isn't fun. But after a while, you kind of learn to get a thick skin to it, and you, as Amy said, you can either troll them back, ignore them, which normally really annoys them, which is the best approach most of the time. That's the only negativity. But it is mainly gaming. It's not really esports. So if you take away like the normal people in LAN and stuff, and you go to like the business people in esports and the people like we're surrounded with, no one's like that.
Yeah, realistically,
professionalism at this level.
That's amazing.
But
yeah, nobody's going to say what they say to you on Twitter to your face. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
And that, yeah.
the majority of people who do say that on Twitter to you will have never attended an event in their life, and they never hope to. So it's like they don't have a reputation to uphold. They don't care. They can say what they want, and unfortunately, they
Or
do.
if they do, if they do attend the event, it's normally they walk straight past you. And
Yeah, they don't.
So,
It's a whole different world at LAN events. It's crazy. Yeah, it's weird. So the last one, sorry, to finish off. Do you struggle shaking the word e-girl stereotype, and how much does it frustrate you?
Used to be like really. I used to be
Triggering,
like, yeah, I used to be like, oh, I
Don't
used to
say it.
hyper triggered. I was like, oh, I'm not a female. And now I'm just like there is no meaning behind that word. It's like the word slut. Like it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Like the only meaning it did have was the meaning I put behind it. And like the second I just stopped caring, because I used to be like, I came into this whole world and I was like, oh my god, e-girls, I can't be like one of those, and I'm like, what do you mean one of those? Why am I stereotyping other girls who are doing whatever they want to do with themselves? Like, I don't, like, they don't hurt me, they don't affect me,
Yeah, of course.
they're not negative towards me, and I'm just like categorizing them because that's what I like. E-girl means nothing. Each girl who wants to do whatever they want can do whatever they want, you know? Do what you want to do, man.
I was very similar. It is a word that used to scare me. I was like, oh no, I can't be one of them. I've got to do every step to make sure. And I'm like, but why is this stereotype a thing? Why am I like adding to this stereotype by saying this word? Like, as Amy said, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a stupid stereotype.
It means as much as the way you put behind it yourself.
Yeah, you put behind it.
Like, it's just words at the end of the day, and people will still say it, but it's just like, you know what you're here for. Me and Charlotte know what we're here for. Like, my drive is I want a career in esports. This is where I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
And like, if people want to say e-girl at me, like, okay, you do your thing. Like,
You get so used to it.
it's not even it's just it just means as much as you put behind it, and
Exactly.
that's nothing to me anymore.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to take away from that then is just get thick skin, ignore it. That's the best. Because if you react to them, most likely they just continue, and it's like, how can you be this strange? Like, you know,
But there'll
how
be some
can you be
people.
this weird?
Some people do take it to heart, and that's where we have to kind of stamp it out. Or there needs to be this kind of awareness that you need to understand that these words don't mean anything to those people who are affected by the word e-girl, or don't like being called it, or afraid of it, or are an advocate of using it. Like, it just means as much as you want it to.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be used because,
Yeah.
as I said, it's what Charlotte said, it scared her when she didn't want that word. I didn't want that word. It was that kind of you do everything to make sure you are not that word. You know what? It's like, you do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, yeah. You do you, boo. That's kind of my thing to life. Like,
yeah, like we said before the podcast, if that other person's not hurting you or not doing anything wrong to you, then you know, why should you care? Like, you know, it's not affecting your life. So
Let them do
yeah,
that.
let people do what people
do your own thing and let people do whatever they want. Yeah, I think that's the thing to end off. Cool. Is there anything you guys wanted to add on to this, or say anything else?
Thank you for having me. Honestly,
Yes.
you know, I kind of want to push positivity within esports rather than the negativity. So I want to thank Charlotte and all those amazing other women out there who are pushing us forward, and I hope to hopefully be on their level one day. I'm coming for those ranks.
I couldn't have said it better.
Perfect. I thank you both very, very much for coming on board. It was such an interesting topic to talk about, and I think, to be fair, I've learned quite a bit from it. So yeah, I appreciate it a lot. So guys, you'll be able to watch this on YouTube tomorrow. It'll be uploaded on our YouTube channel, and then hopefully, if we can, I'm still trying to sort it out, but if we can get it on iTunes, that'd be perfect. But we're just trying to sort that. But yeah, thank you to Charlotte and Amy for coming on, and yeah, I appreciate it, guys, and we'll catch you later.